In 2019, Digi.Studios released FNAF Help Wanted. In this game, one of the first things we are told is that a rogue indie developer took inspiration from real-life events and made games to slander the Fazbear Entertainment name.
Why? And while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending.
At the time, we all took this as a joke. They used a picture of Scott, and we all chuckled at the meta-ness of it all. But I think this was a much more important point than a lot of us thought. Something that happens a lot in the FNAF theory community is assumptions and inferences based on past materials. It's just a staple of how things work and not really something that we can change. But I want all of us to take a second look at the Steel Wool games on their own. We have things like Glitch Trap and Burn Trap, but we don't have anything that has said the name William Afton or Henry Emily, two characters that are fundamental to understanding the lore presented in the Click Team era of games, that is. While we have passing mentions of Vanessa's father being named Bill or having the last name starting with A, we don't hear anything concrete about all of this. If we try to use the lore from the Click Team era, we know that William Afton's daughter is named Elizabeth, not Vanessa. But let's be real for a second. Scott didn't know the games were going to get this far. He didn't know if he was going to make a second game, or a third, or a fourth, or a seventh, or a 10th. He didn't know how far everything was going to go. He did not have the entire lore planned out from the beginning. He didn't even have the lore planned out in the middle. I think that everything leading up to, and including FNAF 4, was pointing towards Dream Theory, but the inclusion of Sister Location and all of the games past that mean that we have to look back at those early pieces of lore with a grain of salt. Being able to wave away those inconsistencies as a rogue developer who didn't know the full story is a perfect way to contain the information given in those games without needing to rely on it to move forward. I think that Scott started to really plan out the future when he started writing the books. At this point, the series was successful enough that he didn't need to worry about whether every game would be his last. The short stories contained in Fazbear Frights, and especially in Tales from the Pizzaplex, were Scott's way of testing out ideas and seeing which ones he wanted to go forward with. Stories like The Mimic and Tiger Rock are ones that are heavily influencing the current story of the games, and will continue to do so going forward. At this point, from Help Wanted forward, we have no mention of William Afton or Henry Emily by name. We don't know much about the origins of the company or the major players involved. The build-up and teasers being released for Secret of the Mimic have shown us that we'll be dealing with Edwin Murray, the creator of the Mimic and the Henry stand-in in the books. He's the one who turns the costumes into animatronics to be used by the company. If we then try to force the Click Team era and the Steel Wool era together, we would have redundancies in the creator of the animatronics. We don't need both Henry and Edwin. It's more likely that the rogue indie developer from Help Wanted either didn't know or didn't want to use the real names of the people involved. I've been seeing people like Game Theory start to post about the Secret of the Mimic being reboot point.
Secret of the Mimic is gonna reboot FNAF.
But I think we've already been in it. The one thing that was standing in my way with this theory was Burn Trap. We still don't know his deal, we don't really know if he's canon. We assume that the Princess Quest ending for Security Breach is canon, but we don't really have confirmation. One thing that helped me alleviate this concern was Scott's 10th anniversary interview with Daco. At around 20 minutes into the interview, they talk about Security Breach, and Scott mentions a misstep that he had in communication with Steel Wool. He wanted to keep the story to himself, but have them put in little details for people to find, like certain characters doing things or items in certain places, but Steel Wool misunderstood and tried to connect the pieces themselves, misinterpreting Scott's intention. The one thing he calls specific attention to is Burn Trap.
And I can give you a really easy example for this. And I'm hesitant to say this because I don't like messing with the lore, but I think in this case it's okay. When it comes to Burn Trap, originally, Burn Trap was never supposed to move.
Scott's original intention for the character was for him to be stationary and hard to see, maybe hiding in the corner behind some machinery, but certainly not coming back to life, taking over all of the animatronics and trying to kill you. I think Burn Trap being stationary and inactive really changes the character and what his point in the story would be. The main point here is that everything in the Click Team era should be contained on its own. While some of the information may carry over, the existence of the killer for instance, I don't think the details will be exact. I don't think we'll see Henry going forward. I think that Edwin is taking that place in the lore. As for William, I can't imagine such an iconic name or character being replaced. While Henry was important to the origins of the company, the amazing monologue at the end of Pizza Sim for example, I don't think that this character is crucial or load-bearing going forward. He can easily be swapped for Edwin and still tell a compelling story, but only time will tell. And we'll know more in just a few days when Secret of the Mimic is released.